This is a great website, Daily Poster by David Sirota. He was, on the Bernie Sanders campaign, my boy Bernie Sanders. And, he says here, the headline is, "The insurrection was predictable. Today's events were the expression of a dangerous authoritarian movement that has been long in the making." 2 months ago, the Daily Poster published a series of reports on the growing threat of a coup attempt, wondering why it wasn't being taken more seriously by Democrats in the media. We were scoffed at and eye-rolled, as if such things could never happen in America. Nobody is scoffing or eye-rolling anymore after today's events at the U.S. Capitol. Their insurrectionists stormed the building and halted certification of a national election as security forces allowed them to breach the Senate chamber and shut down the proceedings. There was a notable difference in the way federal security forces met last year's Black Lives Matter protests with a show of force and the way they allowed the Capitol to be overrun by right-wing authoritarians that they knew were coming. So, and the FBI is looking for these people. These were pro-Trump. Some of these people were hardcore neo-Nazi white supremacists. Some were, some were like social media white supremacist influencers. The famous guy with the bullhorns here was known as the QAnon shaman. He's a well-known right-wing, online personality. Nick Fuentes was there. Baked Alaska was there. All kinds, there were a bunch of, you could really do cross sections where you could point out the hardcore neo-Nazi extremists. There were obviously the neo-Confederates, the guys flying Confederate flags. There were also just hardcore Trump supporters who jumped in on it. And there's video of this stuff. And this is the other thing. People are kind of trying to downplay the threat. That, oh, hey, it wasn't like so bad. That they were really, just like dumb about it. It was a dumb coup, some people called it. And, I'm sorry, but you guys have to, recognize the threat. This guy, this is a photo that's going around a lot. He's got zip ties. Like, he's prepared to tie people up. They were trying to get into the House chambers. And the FBI has just released please help us find information about the possibility that people were planning violence. And I'm sorry, the deference that's given to this gang, this mob, and these people specifically here, domestic terrorists who were obviously planning stuff, especially when you see stuff like this. Out in front of the Capitol, a gallows and a noose. As if we didn't know what they were doing. What they had planned, right? That's insane. Anyone claiming that, there's really, I'll get more into that, but the woman who was shot, her name was Ashley Babbitt. She's an Air Force veteran, and she posted QAnon stuff, retweeted, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Trump administration was considering bringing back execution by firing squad. If there weren't enough red flag authoritarian, dangerous things about this administration, that was one of them. There have also, they brought back federal executions. They've been executing as many people as possible. And they had floated the possibility of firing squad. And this woman had retweeted something about that and saying, basically celebrating it. And check this out. This is a lot of people have seen the video. I'm not going to play video of her getting shot. I don't play murder porn on my channel. But, it's there if you want to find it. But not many people have shown the minutes leading up, and this has been found now. Watch this and really try to grok how harrowing this is, because behind this door are the vice president, the Speaker of the House, the Senate Majority Leader, I believe, the House Majority Leader, and that's the procession from the president. That's the continuity of democracy. These are if Trump, while sitting in the White House watching all this, munching on his lunch, his McDonald's or whatever else he's having, is watching this all go down. And he, has a heart attack or whatever, then people inside this building are the president now. They're leaders of the country. So watch these people. This is just before the woman is shot. This is the build up to that. Watch this. Look at how just these cops are just standing here. It's insane. It really is insane.
They're leaving.
That's the woman there. Holy cow. That's her.
These guys ain't the ones that's the fuck the blue! We want you to go home. I'm recording, and there's so many people. It's just they're gonna push their way up here. Bro, I see people out there get hurt. I don't want to see you get hurt. We will make a path dead ass. Like we don't want. That's what I'm saying. We'll make a path, bro. Please, just let us make a path. Just let us make a path. When the whole country hates you. I want you to go home. Go. Let's go. Get
Now the
this
cops
shit.
are just leaving. Getting out of the way.
There's a gun!
Next thing, there's a gun. Yeah, this is where she gets shot. Again, if you want to watch it, it's out there for you. Hey Jay, welcome to the stream. Yeah, they're not only are they damaging property right in front of the cops, and the cops do nothing. The cops moved out of the way. They moved out of the way. On the other side of that door are the elected leaders of our country. I know people don't have a lot of love. I don't have a lot of love for Mike Pence or Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell or most of those people. But the fact that the president, who, 80 million plus people don't have a lot of love for either, voted against him, whipped up this mob to go and take them out essentially. And Trump people have, Trump supporters have a serious, there's serious cognitive dissonance here, okay? They're making excuses. They're straight up lying. I'm going to get to that in a second. But listen to these Trump supporters who were there that day. I mean, this is nuts. And this is from CNN. They hate CNN. So it's a surprise to me they're even talking to them. But just listen to this.
Absolutely. I think we should have gone on in and yanked our senators out by the hair of the head and drug them out and said, no more.
Yeah, and would it have ended there, lady? You really think it would have ended there? To drag them out by their hair? Yeah, Blue 24. Clearly a large section of the U.S. that no longer believes in democracy. No, man, they have their glorious leader. And that's the thing, is there is a certain section of our country that is authoritarian to the point of a fascist uprising, which is what we're witnessing.
I'm absolutely stand behind 100% what happened here today. 1,000%. I think it's terrible how this election was stolen. And I had to come here and do my patriotic duty.
So yeah, they really believe it was stolen. These people are absolutely brainwashed.
I'm not proud of it. I'm humbled by it, and that I'm excited that for 1776, that we the people movement is moving forward.
So they're calling themselves 1776, like they are revolutionary, founding fathers. They really think that.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad that it has to happen.
Are you proud of what happened here today?
I'm proud that the Patriots came out today to show their support for our president.
and kill a cop that killed a cop.
As he is, Donald Trump is our president.
Well, I mean, but what does this achieve? This
Listen to
violence?
what does this achieve, this violence? And watch their reaction.
Well, I mean, but what does this achieve? This violence?
Are we violent?
Well, sorry guys, it's getting a little sticky. Let me back it up. Sorry about that.
I mean, but what does this achieve? This violence?
Are we violent?
There's no violence.
Nobody's
This
been
is a peaceful
violent.
protest.
People have been hurt.
There's not
Nobody's
by
been violent,
anybody
no.
here.
There's no violence. We're not violent right now with you, Mr. Journalist.
You're wrong.
There's been no violence.
Look, wrong. You're wrong. Oh, there's been no violence, huh? Like, okay, here's the news. I forgot about that. But yeah, this isn't. It's funny. Remember, all this year they were saying how Black Lives Matter was destroying property. This is the Capitol building. This is the officer who they killed, who they bashed to death with a fire extinguisher. So the cognitive dissonance is real for the right in America. I got some comments here. Jay, brainwashed by not only corporate media, but echo chamber independent media funded by the corporate right. Turning Point USA, Breitbart. Yeah, I would add the Mercers, the Koch brothers. They have fostered this for years and years. It starts with, the right has always had its own kind of, echo chamber, but, you think of talk radio in the 80s, Rush Limbaugh, right? The hatred and the vitriol he had for just somebody like, Bill Clinton, who was, we know today as a neoliberal, mass incarcerating, Kosovo bombing, he's a Republican, basically walked the Republican walk, but just talked a Democratic talk. They hated him so bad. Rush Limbaugh called his daughter a pig. And, and then in the 90s comes Fox News, starts just creating their whole alternate reality. I believe it was the chaos magician Robert Anton Williams that called it a reality tunnel, where you create this idea, where you create this whole other reality, and it's encased, really. And it's reinforced, A lot of these people now are so upset with Fox, they've moved on to even the crazier places, OWN, and which is One American News Network, and Newsmax has always been the more trash version of Fox. But, we actually have now, the excuse making has gotten pretty crazy, to the point of, like, they're just making stuff up. So the whole idea that the election was stolen is a lie, right? So how are you going to cover when your lie blows up in your face? Well, hey man, you just got to lie harder, bro. That's what you got to do. And it was, some of the first of it, and we knew they were going to do this. Keep in mind, everybody's being so careful about calling this terrorism when the Republicans have been calling Antifa terrorists for standing against fascist street thugs for years. They've been calling them terrorists, right? Well, this was floated by Matt Gaetz. Well, once the Senate and the House reconvened after this mayhem and this bloodshed, the halls of our democracy are now stained in the blood of its citizens, right? Don't get me wrong. Figuratively, it was stained with the blood of millions of people before this. The unnecessary wars, U.S. imperialism, granted, but now stained by the blood of American citizens, literally. The Republicans, some of them completely backed off. Just freaked out, saw what they had done, and chickened out. Kelly Loeffler, a bunch of others, and but not the hardcore Trump people. Not guys like Matt Gaetz, right? And what does he do? He double, triple, quadruples down. And what's he going to do? Blame Antifa. It wasn't Trump people. Antifa made us do it. Let's hear it.
President Trump explicitly called for demonstrations and protests to be peaceful. He was far more, you can moan and groan, but he was far
That's Democrats moaning and groaning, of course.
more explicit about his calls for peace than some of the BLM and left-wing rioters were this summer when we saw violence sweep across this nation. Now, we came here.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter never disrupted a single function of the U.S. government, let alone the transfer of power to the executive.
Today, to debate, to follow regular order, to offer an objection, to follow a process that is expressly contemplated.
Let me say, what these guys are doing, what these guys did in the House and the Senate by objecting during the official Electoral College count was actually part of what incited this violence and this attack. Like, they legitimized the beliefs of these people. If not a single Republican objected, and, you know, of course, Trump probably still would have gave his speech, but in some way, they were legitimizing what Trump has been saying and lying about.
In our Constitution. And for doing that, we got called a bunch of seditious traitors. Now, not since 1985 has a Republican president been sworn in, absent some Democrat effort, to object to the electors. But when we do it, it is the new violation of all norms.
Yeah. Thanks, Kofifi. Have a good night.
Those things are political violence may be necessary, but America is not one such country. Madam Speaker, it was wrong when people vandalized and defaced your home. It was wrong when thugs went to Senator Hawley's home. And I don't know if the reports are true, but the Washington D.C. home
I don't know if the reports are true.
Reported some pretty compelling evidence from a facial recognition company.
Sorry, let me back it up, guys.
Home, and I don't know if the reports are true.
Then why are you saying it, Matt? Why are you saying it?
The Washington Times has just reported some pretty compelling evidence from a facial recognition company showing that some of the people who breached the Capitol today were not Trump supporters. They were masquerading as Trump supporters, and in fact, were
Oh, of course it freezes right here.
Members of the violent terrorist group Antifa. Now, we should seek to
build
build America up.
So he's lying. So the Washington Times had to retract that story because the company that did the facial recognition, said, "Oh no, like these are just people who were at like certain other rallies, and they are in fact QAnon, far right extremists, hardcore right wing, white supremacists." Okay, but we're even seeing this. We're seeing this across the nation. At the local level, I live in Santa Maria, California. It's an agricultural town on the Central Coast, halfway between LA and the Bay Area. And we have this local clown named Andy Caldwell. He ran for Congress in the 32nd district, I believe it is, in this last election, 2020 election, against Salud Carbajal, one of the representatives who had to shelter in place from this mob. Carbajal totally defeated him. It's a pretty safe blue district we live in. But Andy Caldwell has a radio show, and the day of the attack, who did he have on? But kid you not, Joe Arpaio, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who's almost like a proto-Trump figure. He was a former sheriff in Arizona when he was sheriff. He was known for having the most cruel and unusual punishment. Kept people in detention facilities with no air conditioner in the desert. And a lot of these people were undocumented immigrants from Mexico and South America. And he had to be, a federal court and a federal judge had to tell his sheriff's department to stop profiling people just based on their undocumented status. They thought, there's an illegal, I'm going to go arrest him. Oh, he's speaking Spanish and we know what he looks like. We're going to go check his, documentation. He was ordered to not do that, defied it, was found in contempt of federal court. Trump pardoned him in 2017. That's who Andy Caldwell had on, and Andy Caldwell wants to float his big theory. And this is the Andy Caldwell Show. Let's hear what he's got to say.
I just look at the media. Sure, they love this.
That's Arpaio. So he's already blaming the media. So listen.
Well, by the way, they're how they're cutting hold. The schedule is.
Let me bring up two different tracks of thought that I'd like you to cover. Number one is, I believe, and we've seen some pictures, Antifa claimed that they were going to infiltrate these protest rallies to raise a ruckus. And the Proud Boys said they were going to do the same, and both of them said they were going to dress incognito or all in black. And there is some pictures of one guy, the one guy that wearing the horns and the leathers and stuff. I think he was sitting in the speaker's chair. Well, they have pictures of him at a Black Lives Matter rally, I think, in Arizona. To what degree do you think they infiltrated this just to give Trump a bad name?
Oh, it was Antifa. The guy he's talking about with the bullhorns, he's known as the QAnon shaman. Just because these right-wingers have been showing up, and they have been showing up big time to Black Lives Matter to disrupt and in some cases attack people. Kyle Rittenhouse, anybody remember that? Yeah, Jay Coleman said blatant fiction. Yeah, he's literally pulling this stuff out of his ass. This is you can see the full story on my website, politicalpain.com. That's my low rent photo I got of him from a public meeting. Really, Andy? And with the headline, Andy Caldwell sinks to new lows, spreads lies about Capitol Hill attack. So I actually submitted this to the local newspapers, but it's just embarrassing that they are trying to blame Antifa. And the crazy thing is, Antifa, people who are anti-fascist organizers online made it very clear and communicated, we are not going to be in D.C. on the 6th. They knew very well that Stop the Steal was going to go hardcore on the 6th, and they weren't going to be a part of it. They said, let the cops, or let the fascists fight the cops. Let it be fash on fash, basically. And yeah, they killed police. A bunch of idiots fell off of stuff, had heart attacks, tasering themselves. And, the woman who, tried to invade Congress was shot by Capitol Hill police. And it's just really, so if you want to argue that these people are Antifa, well, there's tons of evidence, because guess what? A bunch of these white supremacist extremists, they all have social media profiles, and they're influencers in the white power movement, right? And so a bunch of them were live streaming this stuff, and other people were recording, and we can actually review the tape. Let's see here how Antifa these people are. So this officer has a name tag, and it must say Epstein. And so this guy is, this is QAnon stuff. He's saying, oh, Epstein, it's Epstein's cousin, yo. So he's talking about Jeffrey Epstein, the prolific pedophile and friend of Donald Trump, oddly enough. Now watch what happens.
Get him out of there. Get him out of there. It's starting. It's starting.
Now watch, it started. Watch how quickly they just start pushing these officers back.
I would just stop. Dude, you're not helping. You're not helping. You're going to get me hurt.
I don't know who that guy's talking to, the cameraman, if it's the cops or, but dude, please. Now, how Antifa are these cops, how Antifa is the MAGA mob, if this is what they did to, this is an Associated Press photographer who was wearing all black and a helmet and other stuff, and somebody just starts, you saw how they whipped that crowd up by just saying the name Epstein. This is them, just somebody calls this journalist Antifa, and watch what happens. They start grabbing him.
They're coming for you! And you're not seeing it.
It's like they're dragging this guy around. Look at him. He's putting his hands up. I'm a journalist. Watch. So guys, this is the mob mentality. Like we couldn't find a more clear illustration of mob mentality, right? Like that's exactly what that is. Check this out. There's another one just to really hit this home, how not Antifa the MAGA mob was. This is Antifa sure went to drastic lengths to blend in with the Trump fans. Jeez. Yeah, and they start saying fuck Antifa and all that stuff. And, this is interesting how Republican senators are explaining their years of previous fealty for Trump. So after years of enabling his lies, after years of repeating them and supporting it, and, Donald Trump represents the most divisive politics, right? And it's interesting because, like, I know Republicans. I have Republican friends and family. And I remember hearing things repeated, right? Things just get repeated. They're very good at picking a talking point and sticking to it. And I remember something that kept coming up in the Obama years that I would hear again and again. Barack Hussein Obama is the most divisive president we've ever had. And he has divided this country, especially on terms of race. That was something I heard multiple times. I just had to balk and be like, so you're telling me the blame for dividing America racially it lies on the first black president? And that's when they kind of, but not exactly. It's the same logic of Antifa made us do it. There, if people are saying that, well, it wasn't Antifa, or, if they're not arguing that these people were Antifa in disguise, they're saying that there were Antifa among these people trying to stir up the MAGA mob. And they just got impassioned. Brave Americans getting impassioned and, trying to overthrow the U.S. government. That's all it was. They're patriots. They're patriots.